Well, quite a different commute for me on the way to Motorhead Garage here today. I'm on an e-bike and I am loving it. This thing is loaded with technology, just the way we love it here at Motorhead Garage. We've got this and a whole lot more coming up next. Stay tuned.
Motorhead Garage, the program that each week introduces you to and shows you how to install the latest and exciting and innovative products for your vehicle. Motorhead Garage is presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Now here's your host, Dave Dobson.
Hey there, welcome to another edition of Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Let's say you have a classic vehicle like this 1971 Chevy pickup truck. The owner uses this one every day, and of course he enjoys driving it and he wants it to look original, but he's stuck with the original stereo inside. It's an old AM radio, and let's face it, sound was terrible back then. You've got one tiny little speaker on the dash. Now you want Bluetooth, your MP3 player, you want USB, maybe CD changer control, satellite radio, all those capabilities. Well, guess what? You can have all of those things and still keep your classic looks thanks to Custom Auto Sound. Now they have model-specific radios for over 400 different makes and models of cars, and they also have a series of universal radios that are going to look period correct for any vehicle you put them in. One of the radios that looks great, it's the slide bar radio. When it's turned off, it looks just like a classic analog radio, but you slide the bar over and you've got a sophisticated modern stereo. But maybe you don't want all the bells and whistles, but you still want a great looking and great sounding car stereo? Well, enter the Concourse USA 230. Now this model here keeps it simple. It has an aux input for your iPod or your MP3 player. Even if you have satellite radio, you can plug that tuner into the radio, and that's where we're going to put in this C10 in just a few minutes. And believe me when I tell you that Custom Auto Sound, it's not just about looks, it's about high quality stereo equipment. They have great speakers and great stereos and super strict standards. They put every one of their radios through rigorous testing even before they leave the factory. First of all, they're made in some of the same facilities where other major name brand electronics are made, so you know it's a high quality piece to begin with. Then they put it through a bunch of tests. First, a vibration test to make sure your Custom Auto Sound radio will work perfectly while you're bouncing down the road. And every model goes through extreme temperature tests as well, both hot and cold, to make sure it'll stand up to any climate and any weather. Every single radio is given a hands-on test before it's shipped out, just to make sure it all works perfectly. And talk about ease of installation. All the wiring for every Custom Auto Sound radio comes color-coded. It also comes labeled. So in the case of our wiring harnesses here, we've got this white one. It is for speakers, and this gives us an opportunity to expand our system. Extra connections, pinch connectors here for the speakers. We're not going to use those right now. We just have one speaker up here in the dash, which is a new Custom Auto Sound speaker, by the way. It's going to sound great. So we just connect the harness in the top for that one. A little extra wire here that came with the vehicle. There we go. We'll connect that with the top one. And then the bottom harness here, this has a power antenna hookup. There's no power antenna in this vehicle, so we just leave that back behind the dash. This also gives us power and ground for the unit, and we will connect that. And finally, the antenna wire, so we can get good reception on our AM/FM set. And we will plug that in. Now there's a bezel here for this particular unit, for the USA 230. And the bezel actually goes behind the dash in this case. So I need a couple of washers first, actually, to make sure that stays on where it needs to stay. We'll put this bezel, slide it right over. It fits like a glove because tolerances are really tight on these radios. They are made to fit the specific models, and you know the quality is great, as I mentioned. We've got a little heater hose here to negotiate, so we'll get around that. All right, you got to wiggle this around a little bit, and we're going to get it set in there just perfectly. There we go. Now the dash is a little beat up because this vehicle is a Survivor, which is super cool. Only 46,000 original miles on the truck with the original engine and everything. And the owner uses this as a daily driver, which I think is really neat. Even though you have an old truck, you still want your modern conveniences. You want to listen to your tunes. You want them to sound good. So Custom Auto Sound can take care of you here. And one more nut to go on top of this washer. We'll run that down. We can also grab a socket here that fits those, so we can do a little more than we can with our fingers there. Drive it down a little more and make sure it's snug in the dash. And now we're ready to install our dials. And the cool thing, again, with Custom Auto Sound is no one's going to know that this is a brand new stereo. It's going to look just like the original that came in the vehicle. And your little secret here is you're able to plug in your iPod, listen to your music, and it's going to sound great. Little preset buttons here. You have presets as well, and those control the functions on a lot of the custom auto sound stereos as well. And just like that, once the knobs are installed, you have what looks like a stock radio in your stock vehicle from 1971. Custom Auto Sound has 400 makes and models of stereos. They have the one that's going to look great in your vehicle. Check them out at customautosoundmfg.com. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Don't go away.
Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, is brought to you by RockAuto.com. All the parts your car will ever need. BrothersTrucks.com, your #1 source for 1947 to 87 Chevy and GMC truck restoration. Magic Creeper, the most versatile creeper ever. NH Oil Undercoating, the official oil-based rust prevention system. And by Custom Auto Sound, the originator of classic car OEM fit radio since 1977.
You are riding along with Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Now, we get a lot of cool stuff here in the studio, but this is one of the coolest. In fact, everybody on the crew has had a spin on this thing. It's an e-bike from Solfast e-bikes, and this looks different than anything I've ever seen out there, Jim. Why is it different from the other e-bikes I've seen?
Obviously, the design of my frame. This is a very unique style frame we have right here, with the integration of the down tube battery, the oversizedness of the frame, just the sheer boldness of it.
It kind of resembles a BMX bike. How does that tap into your heritage?
Yeah, I raced BMX back in the 70s, did some motocross racing. I've basically been on 2 wheels my entire life. So I wanted to build an overgrown BMX bike, which I had a really good run with the pedal scene, and then we migrated into the electric segment, which is huge. But a bike like this it's like a rugged bike. I mean, it's designed for the guy that really wants to do some riding.
It's super durable. Let's start with the tires. Those jump out at me. Tell me what you're using here.
Yeah, so we start off with a really wide rim, so we get the big, bold look. We stamp out the rims to save some weight, and then we run a low-profile performance tire. So this works absolutely phenomenal on asphalt, concrete, wet conditions, but if you want to do some trail riding, it's still a good tread pattern for that because we're using a low-profile tire. It's expanded out, so it's low and wide like a sports car. It takes hardly any energy to get it going or to keep it going. So handling, taking off, braking is superb on this.
Let's talk about the motor.
Yeah, so we use the Bafang motor. This is their 750-watt hub motor. Puts out 1,000 watts of peak power. It's super durable, but yet super efficient.
And coupled with the batteries in here, what kind of life am I getting from this thing? How far can I go?
Batteries are the big question out on the market right now. So we use all certified Samsung cells, and this is a 14 amp hour battery. So it's got plenty of power to actually go long distance, but it has a lot of juice for low end hit.
And this is an e-bike, so that means you're getting some power assist. How does that work?
Pretty much any e-bike out on the market has different levels of power assist. So when you turn the power on, it engages into a couple different levels. So level 1 being the lowest level is going to turn on a little bit of energy for the motor, matched with your own pedal power.
How many levels are there?
We can go up to 5 levels, even 9 levels, just depending on how much we want to break it out. So level 5 is going to be full power.
Or you have a little throttle lever.
You have a throttle override, so you can be in level 0, pedal on your own energy, but still have a full throttle override.
Gotcha, very cool. And of course, everyone wants to know, what's the high speed?
These will do sub 30s. They're going to be a class 2 bike out of the box, so they're going to limit it to about 20 miles an hour, but you can go into the display and change some settings so you can get max power.
Let's talk about comfort here. The seat's enormous. It's super cushy. I've ridden on this thing.
Yeah, we have a nice big saddle. It's a nice sporty saddle. Got some extra support gussets back here that also doubles as a bottle opener. We've got a 3M reflective logo back here. It's just a comfortable saddle. This is the type of bike where you don't need to upgrade the saddle and the grips and the pedals. It's got all the cool stuff already on it.
The light, that's not something you have to buy extra either?
Yeah, it's got an integrated front headlights, a low draw light, but puts out a great beam. We use a push button flashlight right here, so we didn't want to run a wire all the way back here and have a bunch of hokey looking wires out.
Yeah, let's talk about that. This is a really clean look. I see some wires in the back, but you don't see wires strung all along the frame. How much did you think about that when you were designing this?
Well, that's the nice thing about having the integrated down tube batteries. We actually have a huge channel down here where we put all the wiring harnesses, the brake line, the shifter line. We just have 2 exit holes back here, one for the derailleur and one for the power, and then one for the hydraulic brake line.
And I see you've got a couple connectors here. So if something happens to a line either down here or up top, you can just replace part of it. And
it's real easy to troubleshoot. We're making this bike super simple. Let's say you crash and your display's not working, or it gets wet, or your throttle gets damaged. It's real easy to replace and kind of troubleshoot what's going on.
And let's talk about the gearing here. It's power assist, but you can pedal on your own if you want to.
Yeah, so it's got a Shimano 7-speed derailleur on it. So you've got the low gear and a high gear, just like your regular 10-speed bicycles. The cassette is basically built right into the hub, so it's a pretty maintenance-free system here.
Very cool. And that's all about how it goes. Let's talk about how it stops.
Yeah, braking is a big factor on an e-bike. You got to figure you're going twice as fast, you're moving twice as much, so brakes are a big important system on the bikes. This particular model, we're using the hydraulic brakes.
Gotcha, and there's disc brakes all around too.
All models have disc brakes.
And suspension. It's a safety issue, it's also a comfort issue.
Well, a suspension fork like this is going to be a typical fork that's going to work well on road verbiage, you know, some curbs. It's not really a competition fork, but it's still nice to have that additional cushioning.
Sort of a hybrid. You can ride it off-road a little bit if you need to, and of course it's made for cruising on the roads or on a path or something.
Yeah, if you're doing some really high-speed riding, you can actually lock the forks out so you don't have any suspension.
What's this thing like to ride? I mean, I've ridden it just a little bit, but you know, let's talk about comfort on this thing.
It's extremely comfortable. I mean, it's a big, large frame. It literally has BMX geometry, but it's a great cruiser. But if you really wanted to moto it, that's what it's built for.
All right, we've addressed how comfortable it is to ride. How long can I ride it? How long is the battery going to last?
Great question. So a typical cruising range, which is going to be level 1, 4th gear, pedaling with the bike, we're going to see well north of 40 to 45 miles of cruising. This all depends on the rider's weight, height, size, road conditions, hills, headwinds. So figure anywhere from 40 to 50 miles of cruising.
And one tool I can use to monitor that is the display there.
The display has an automatic voltage meter already built in it. It gives you a live view exactly where that battery's at all times.
And all of it's built on this amazing frame. First of all, I love it because it's the Golf Porsche colors,
right?
Which is super cool. What makes the frame so strong?
Basically, it's going to be the design of it. This is where I specialize at. You know, we've used all hand-picked components on here, but we've got an overbuilt head tube, and this is all hydroformed. My rear subframe here is also hydroformed. I use these big giant dropouts, which are CNC water jets, along with these plates here. So it's structurally super rigid. There's no flex on this frame.
Well, I can tell you this thing is amazing. We all love it here at Motorhead Garage, and you're going to love it too. Check them out at solfastebikes.com. We'll return right after this with more Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings and more super cool products when we come back. Welcome back to Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. If you have a classic automobile like this 1970 Oldsmobile, you've no doubt heard of inline tube. They are famous for their brake lines and their fuel lines, but you've brought some braking systems here for us, John. Why do I want to buy brakes from inline tube?
Our braking systems are factory components. Everything fits on the car just like the factory. So it's a matter of taking your old components off and having bolt-on systems to replace it. No welding, no cutting, everything comes complete, even with the hose brackets, the brake and fuel lines, everything will bolt right up just like the factory did it.
So you're taking the guesswork out of things. You don't have to mix and match parts from different manufacturers.
Absolutely. No generic parts, no fumbling and relocating stuff. It all fits in the factory locations, so the install is super simple.
A lot of these cars back in the 60s and 70s came with drum brakes. What if I want to upgrade to disc brakes?
That's correct. Most of the cars in the 60s and 70s did have drum brakes. And this is exactly how the factory did it. So it's a matter of taking that drum brake assembly off the car and installing the disc brakes right in its place, and then you will have factory disc brakes.
And of course you have the standard disc brakes there. If you want a little upgrade, a little better performance, a little better stopping power, you can help me there too.
Absolutely. If you are the guy that wants a little bit more out of your braking system, you can go to the cross-drilled and slotted rotor, and that will give you a little bit more stopping power for these cars.
What if you want to stay more authentic and keep the drums on the rear?
Right, that's a factory drum setup right there. It just replaces your old drums, and it's all brand new pieces. Again, it bolts right into the place of the old one. You don't have to reuse any of the parts.
So you can stay true to the original. And you've kind of done that here on the olds as well. You've got the manual brakes still on.
Right.
And you can help me, though, if I want new parts to keep the system the same.
Right, and all these parts are manual disc brake parts right here, no power booster. If you come over here, you can see that the power booster is added. Most of these cars in the 60s had power disc brakes, but the super high performance stuff, they didn't have enough vacuum, so you had to go manual.
So, of course, you do the brake lines and the brakes themselves, and you also do the valving. And this looks unfamiliar to me. Tell me about this piece right here.
Well, on 67 to 70 cars, you had what's called the hold-off valve. So that held the pressure off for a split second, but it also worked in conjunction with this. So these two pieces worked in conjunction from 67 to 70, and then in 1971, they combined those two pieces together.
The parts look great on the vehicle, but they also look correct, John. That's what I love about it.
Right, and here's our finished parts all installed on the vehicle. You got your rotor assembly here, you got your master assembly up top, and all the parts that connect it.
And it's not just the brakes. What other parts have you manufactured for this car?
Besides doing brake and fuel lines and the disc brake conversion stuff, we make everything that connects to these components as well. We make the valves, the hoses, the brackets, and then we've taken it one step further and we've made all the under chassis parts for this car. So you got bushings and center links and boots, and all that stuff is available from Inline 2.
You must have a huge catalog. How many parts are in there?
There's over 28,000 parts in these catalogs. I think there's 10 different catalogs. It's all listed on our website. Page through them, find your parts, make your car correct.
How many makes and models are you covering, John?
We manufacture parts for American cars from the 30s into the 2000s. Every make you can imagine, GM, Ford, and Chrysler, and even some AMC parts.
All right, well, you know what to do. If you have a restoration or a build, go to inlinetube.com. And oh, by the way, there's a special discount there for Motorhead Garage viewers. Just type in Motorhead. We'll return with more Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coating, so keep it right here.
Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings, is brought to you by Magic Creeper, the most versatile creeper ever. Fender Lizard, wireless remote brake bleeding system, save time, save money. Resin Works, made in America, installed locally. Neo Chance Converters, home of the world's fastest automatic door slammers. And by Mouse Blocker, protecting your vehicle from little things that cause big problems.
Welcome back to Motorhead Garage, presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. Now, you may have heard the name Fast Coolers before. That's because they've been around for 20 years with this. This increases the capacity of your transmission. And if you look over here, there's one on each side. Of course, the capacity increases. There's more fluid inside. You're able to keep the unit cooler, and you can keep all the fluid cleaner because there is a filter inside there. And another place that works similarly, there's a lot of gears going, there's a lot of friction, there's a lot of heat. It is the rear end here. Now, here on the differential, Verlin, this is what the back of a differential looks like when you get a unit stock from the factory. Not a whole lot going on here.
No, it's a really simple stamped piece of sheet metal to clear the ring gear, and it really makes it difficult to service.
Servicing especially, that's another issue we'll get to. And of course, it does nothing to dissipate the heat. You've got the ring gear and the pinion gear slinging around in there, and tight tolerances, also a bunch of bearings too. How does the heat affect what's going on inside the differential?
Oh, tremendously. You want to keep that oil ultimately as clean as you possibly can and cool as you can.
Yeah, clean because you've got tight tolerances with the gears and the bearings, so any little metal shaving or anything like that is going to create all kinds of problems in there, over time especially. So now you've gone and you've created a better mousetrap, as it were.
We have a way to keep it clean and cool at the same time. You bolt on the diff cover and you forget about it. So the best way to keep it cool is to create more actual surface area. So what we've done, instead of the stock configuration having this much surface area, we've actually waived the whole surface area of the cover. If you actually stretch that out, you'd have double the surface area. That's what really cools an object.
And I've seen heat sinks before where there's just veins on the outside. Yeah, that cools it a bit, but this cools it a whole lot more by giving it more surface.
Yeah, and the purpose of adding the heat sink is to keep this surface cool. So it's much better to add more of this surface, which we've done with the fast filter diff cover.
Now, all those channels tackle the issue of cooling things down. Clean is the other element here. How do we achieve keeping all this clean?
What we did is we took the center channel, which is directly behind the ring gear, and you know the ring gear is really slinging up the oil, and we're directing that oil through this angle right here, and when it enters this port here, it comes through here and down into this cartridge filter. This is an inline oil filter that has a 40 micron filter in it, and it just feeds back down. So when you drive, it filters.
Normally you change differential fluid every 50,000 miles or so. And when you're doing that, here's the old way. You've got all these bolts around here and you pop this off. You've got to crack it open. First of all, you got to break the seal on there. And when it comes out, it's a gooey mess. It's a stinky mess. And it's a horrible job. Nobody wants to do it. And now with that filter, you've changed the intervals between actually having to change the differential fluid,
Yeah.
which is great.
So to service the diff cover, you'd simply pull the drain plug on the bottom. This hose here has a push type fitting where you can simply pull the hose out. Again here, no tool so far except for pulling the drain plug. Fill it up with oil, watch your sight glass. Your sight glass is going to be right exact at the oil level. And when you're done filling it, just push that hose back in. Now if you wanted to change out the filter, when you pull that hose off, you would then take this cap off and you can have access to that 40 micron filter. Drop your new filter in, put the plug on, and there you go. Push your hose on.
That's amazing. So in theory, you may never have to take this diff cover off if you just keep maintaining
Yeah, that's right.
and changing the fluid on regular intervals. All right, the big question, what vehicles does this fit?
Well, this is the American Axle 11.5 inch or 11.8 inch 14 bolt rear end. It'll be in the 2001 to 2019 Chevy GMC or the 2003 to 2018 Dodge Ram.
And more on the way, I assume?
More on the way. It takes some time to CAD out a design like this that incorporates everything, the cooling and the cleaning of the oil.
It's a complicated design, but the concept is simple. This is going to keep the oil inside your differential clean. It's going to keep it cool, and it's going to make all those components last even longer. Check them out at fastcoolers.com. We are out of time for this episode, but we hope you join us once again next week for more Motorhead Garage presented by NHOU Protective Coatings. So long.